Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to convert a series of column pairs into a proper table. So let's say, for example, you're getting data like this. You have item and size, and then for some reason you're getting date and quantity, and maybe these are dates that they purchase this particular item one in small size, and this 363 for that date, and we have another column for a second pair of date quantities and a third pair of date quantities. And that's really hard to do any analysis. We want to turn it into something like this, where we can put it into a proper table format and do some pivots or do some proper analysis. So how do we convert all this? If it's a small table, it's not that bad. You can copy and paste or transpose. But if it's a large table, maybe it gets a little bit more complicated, and that's where Power Query comes in to help. Let's say we have our data here, and let's bring in Power Query. Now in Excel 2016, Power Query is included. Previous versions of Excel like 2010 and 2013, you're going to have to download Power Query from Microsoft and enable it. But this is 2016. Let's go into the Data tab, and we're going to select from table. And automatically Power Query is going to sense this range of data and put it into a table format, and that's why we have this create table dialog window. Yes, my table does have headers. The first row are fields, header fields. Click OK, and it's going to bring up the Power Query editor. And in here, what we're going to do is we're going to unpivot these data quantity, these date quantity pairs here. We're going to keep these two columns. So select, press the Shift button and select these both columns. Right click and select unpivot other columns. This brings it into a format where the pattern goes up and down instead of like left to right, or the combination of left to right and up and down. So we have a pattern here of date, quantity, date, quantity, date, quantity, right? We don't need this attribute. This was the header field, so I'm going to right click and remove. And once we get to this particular value column, this is where we're going to do the magic of adding some columns and doing some transformation. So here we're going to add a column, and we're going to add an index column, and we're going to add it from 0. And the key here is to identify when the repeating pattern starts. So the repeating pattern, we have our pattern here, the date and quantity, and here the date comes again in quantity. So the repeating pattern starts at the number 2. So keep that in mind. We're going to create another column now, and we're going to still be an add column, and we're going to do a standard, and we're going to divide. And this is the number that we're going to use to divide is 2. Right? So click OK, and we have our integer division column. Right? Now we're going to go back to this index column and turn it into a Modelo column. And basically, it's just the Modelo is when you divide something by a number, the remainder. And we're going to divide it by also the number 2. So we're going to go into transform because we're going to transform this column. We're not going to add another column. We're going to transform this column, and we have our same number column grouping. And under standard, instead of integer divide, we're going to use Modelo. And it's going to ask us what number we're going to use. And of course, we're going to use the number 2. Click OK. So now we have a pattern here, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, right? With this index column, what we're going to do is we're going to pivot the other column. So this is selected. Under transform, we have pivot column, and we're going to pivot the column based on the values column. So we're going to select values. And under advanced options, we don't want to do any kind of calculations for that column like count or count. We want to select don't aggregate. So don't do any kind of aggregation. Click OK. And now we have our item, our size, and our date and the quantity, right? So we don't need this integer division column anymore. Right click, remove, and we need to turn this into a proper date format. It's a string right now, or it's any. So I'll select on the data type here, change it to data, and these are whole numbers, so I'll change that data type to a whole number. Make this column heading, instead of 0, put date, and instead of the number 1 here, I'm going to put quantity. Right, now we've got our proper table. Go to home, click close and load. I want to load it to that sheet that I was in, so I'm going to click close and load to. It's going to give me some options of where I want to load it to. I want to create a table. I'm going to create a table somewhere here on the existing worksheet. Let's put it in column K. Let's put it in column K9. All right, I'll just put K and 9. I think that will work. Let's see. Click load. So it's going to start in K9, and it's going to put that table there. So just do a little checking here. Item 2, medium, and the date of 315. Item 2, medium 315, the value should be 248. And of course, our value is 248. Well, let's look at another one. 45 for item 3 large, 45, 505. Right? So now we have our table here from this paired column table, a series of paired columns. We put it into a proper table format where we can do some charting or we can do some pivot table analysis, and it just makes it a lot easier. So that's the way that we can take a series of paired columns and turn it into a proper table using Power Query. So I hope that helps. Thanks for watching.